You want to read?
Why? Have you, had an experience with that?
12 years at YouTube. I've seen some pretty awful shit.
You had any experience with that?
What do you mean personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
It's never good.
My boss at YouTube was an alcoholic. Mean and drunk. She used to come in hammered looking to wail on somebody, so I'd provoke her. Hoping she wouldn't go after the smaller channels. Interesting nights were when she just finished watching Vox.
Yeah, they used to just outright demonetize our videos. Till they realized that violating public single-party consent laws could cause more damage. Then there was this one time this tranny complained that we filmed him without permission at a public town hall while he's advocating f***ing pumping kids full of and puberty blockers. YouTube execs gave us the choice to blur every face in the whole f***ing video, or said we could just skip the time and have it outright removed. Said choose.
Well, I'd have to go with just removing it there, Vanna.
We went with blurring all the faces.
Why?
Because f*** them, that's why.
And your account received a hard strike anyway.
Yeah. So what is it? Crowder's got some kind of rebellion complex or something? Some kind of a f***ing general problem with authority? Is that why I have to put a half-Asian lawyer on retainer full-time?
I didn't know you had.
Yeah, well, I did.
You want to talk about it?
No.
Hey, Crowder. I don't know a lot. But you see this? All this shit. The demonetization, the hard strikes, the video removals, the policies. It's not your fault.
Yeah, I know that.
Look at me, son. It's not your fault.
I know.
No. It's not your fault.
I know.
No. No, you don't. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
With me. Not me, not you, don't.
It's not your fault. 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 It's not your fault.
Louder with Crowder Studios, protected exclusively by Walther. Called is the E kicking in, or is there I feel like I have a Walther on me. No, it's a Walther on you. Ooh. Try the Walther, wonderful sponsor of the program. We had these custom made, actually. People have been asking, where can they buy them?
Yeah, they don't.
We had them made at louderwithcrowdershop.com.
Go buy them nowhere.
But they make the firearms, wonderful firearms. So listen, we have a great guest today. We have Stefan Molyneux. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We have mostly good guests.
Yes.
Yeah. And Daithi De
Nogla.
Daithi De Nogla. I told Naki Jed right before the show that we were going to let him pronounce it. Video gamer with 6 million subscribers, and I don't want to say conservative, but on the evolutionary path.
Yes. There you go. As one does.
Maybe Australopithecus at this point.
Older.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember the fossils. Producing with me in Video Studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared. Meet us, crowd with your comments, your thoughts, your Photoshop stuff, my legal obligations, starting conclusions. Are we good?
This show is a Dermster Fair.
At Dermster Fair! He's back. If you aren't a mug club member, we talked about it. At G Morgan Jr., he's a sommelier going for level 3. Apparently, that's a really big deal, but no one cares. What's up?
Wow, I thought you cared. Behringer Waymaker out of Paso Robles.
Tom Behringer? And Sven Computer, are you ready with the overlays?
I'm ready with the overlays, but beep beep, I would be more ready if people started sending me their stories that they want to have covered at my Twitter at Sven Computer.
Trying to be clever because he seemed like he was being pathetic, trying to help with the show.
Yeah.
He sounded in earnest for about 2 seconds.
not.
He was just being a cybernetic jerk.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about, question of the day. This has been talked about a lot this week. Where do you line up on conservatives and their involvement in social issues? More specifically, do you think that conservatives lose the social, I guess the social sort of cultural sphere? Is it unpopular for them to go after the moral issues? Roe v. Wade specifically we'll talk about. Yep. Okay, not okay, good choice, not... Comment. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. I think everyone has some thoughts on that.
Yeah,
everyone looks like you're leaning in with thoughts, but then no thoughts.
No thoughts at all, yeah.
Speaking of thoughts, NATO leaders finally pledged to boost their defense spending after Trump raked them over the coals earlier this week.
Almost seems like they're related.
Almost. It's just the wittig. I'm exhausted. Was it Brian's song? To win so much, they won't let me win anymore. So, after Trump talked to NATO, the leaders pledged their, quote, unwavering commitment to boost defense spending, signing a declaration that states they are, quote, committed to improving the balance of sharing the costs and responsibilities of alliance membership. We go now live to their meeting in progress.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
If you ask nicely.
We had so many great titles. I had series titles in our title team text thread for our video last night. I'd like to read a couple of them because it was
About NATO?
Yeah, these are legit. We legitimately consider
Careful. Careful. Don't give Tim Cook a reason to unlock your phone.
Hey, bitches. Why Trump is right on NATO. Suck it, NATO. Why Trump is now your daddy.
Oh.
Or win. Trump grabs NATO by the
Oh, well, there you go. Hey, speaking of all of those things, really, Stormy Daniels was arrested earlier Thursday.
Oh, my gosh.
But performing in an Ohio strip club for allegedly, that's the key word there, that means we can't be sued, letting someone touch her while on stage. So Representative Michael Aventi vowed to fight the, quote, bogus charges his client faces and what he blasted as a setup, and he said it was politically motivated. Though, to be fair, in this one, he may be right, considering that she's having charges pressed against her by the notorious Touching Stripper Breasts as a Human Rights Super PAC. They've been...
Yeah.
I'm guessing
I think
she has a different definition of super PAC. And she does not have daddy issues. Marvin Gaye had daddy issues. She's just a whore.
Well, look, it gets a little bit worse here. So apparently what she did, the cops actually saw her touch somebody. Then the cops came up to get her, and she literally pulled their face into her breasts.
Again.
And then grabbed the female cop's butt and breast. Bad move, Stormy.
I hope their pension is epic.
They put their lives on the line for us.
They just cashed in on it. People on the left, Marvin Gaye had daddy issues. She's just a whore. That's terrible. But it will make air. That'd be like saying, no, she wasn't kosher. The mamas and the papas singer just choked on ham because she was just a fat beef.
Ham sandwich.
Terrible way to go. So people on the left right now in news are outraged over Scarlett Johansson playing a trans man in an upcoming movie.
She can't stop losing.
They're not outraged over her sucking at acting?
Take my winning seminar, okay? It's what after NATO.
She can play the manga because of the MAGA.
So it's, people who haven't been following the story, let me just clarify here. The left is mad because she's not really transgender, okay? The right's mad because of the left's double standard, where an actor should be allowed to portray something different from their real identity. But all of this is actually moot because no one did their research clearly.
Any more thoughts about who you might marry?
I ain't doing that again. I had 2 marriages. It just cost the studio a lot of money to bust them up.
How did none of you catch this?
She's doing it right, though.
Her Academy Award reads Best Supporting Z in a Motion Picture.
She's doing it right. It's the slow evolution over like 2 dozen films. No one notices. It's kind of like sneaking your car across the red light intersection. Just a little bit of time.
You know who noticed?
Then none the wiser.
Kevin Spacey.
You always notice.
Scarlett Johansson's looking good. I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. Keep it up. Don't stop. Don't stop. I told you not to stop.
Meryl Streep's going to have to transition just to keep up.
I think she already did.
Oh my gosh.
So a mini horse was found on a Japanese rooftop 3 days after disappearing. Leaf, a 9-year-old mare, this comes from Fox News, used for animal therapy at the Lifetown Maybe, Mobby aged care facility. Vanished July 6th along with her colt Earth when floodwater swept it. So they found this pony on a rooftop.
Just a statistic.
But you know what, though? This was striking because we've covered this for those who are not Mug Club members. This is a situation strikingly similar to what recently happened in Koreatown, actually.
yeah. Wow.
The rooftop. We have the 911 call exclusive.
911, what's your emergency? Yeah, I lost my dog. Pony. Where'd you see it last, sir? Yeah, in my kitchen. Barn. Okay, sir, can you give me a description? Yeah, kind of big and brown. And yummy. Friendly. Okay, we'll send someone out to investigate. Sir, what's happening? Sir? No. Wait, I found him. He's on my roof. Dog jumped real high. Pony. Where my pony? Shut the up. Okay, sir, there's too much background noise. I can't... Okay, we're good now. He back in kitchen. Barn. Sir, I'm sorry about that bullshit.
Speaking of racism, trending everywhere. By the way, I understand it was a stretch to take a story that involved the Japanese with a pony and try and tie it to the Chinese. It was a weak segue.
It works.
Korea, actually, I forgot. Well, that was even worse than the Chinese segue.
Ouch.
It was almost as cheap as a Chinese segue. So Papa John, the chairman, commonly known as Papa John, Schnatter.
to the uninitiated. Papa John.
Do you think he has it on his driver's license?
Oh, I think
Okay, John Schnatter. No, damn it! It's Papa, last name John.
John. Get it right.
Okay, it's like Carlos
base-
Mencia.
Do it.
So he had to resign after using the N-word on an NFL marketing conference call.
Oops.
So this is following the NFL debacle. He was asked how he would distance himself from racist groups, and he responded by he said that Colonel Sanders called blacks the N-word.
Yeah.
Except he said the N-word before insisting that Sanders never faced any public outcry. So of course, listen, it's over for him.
It's done.
He's been permanent, and I don't know that he's a racist. He just misspoke here. This doesn't mean he hates black people, but he probably shouldn't have said it on an NFL call. Percentage-wise, you're not playing the odds, my friend. And he's being permanently labeled a racist. Though, really, we should have seen this coming, especially considering if you look at their controversial targeted ad campaigns from the 90s.
He'd never make sauce from tomato concentrate. Ingredients, pizza, Papa John's.
To us, it's just a way of life.
Don't get us started on Little Caesars. By the way, pedophiles now believe they should be part of the LGBT community.
And it happened.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is news. It's just that they're being accepted by some. They've always been knocking on that door.
I know, but it's happening, and it pisses me off.
And the LGBT community isn't exactly the piggy that makes its house out of brick.
No,
they're not necessarily straw. They're kind of sticks, but there's enough huffing and puffing, and NAMBLA blows your house down.
And they swore to us this wouldn't happen. They swore.
They swore. Oh, you're going to use a slippery slope argument? How dare you compare us to... Notice, yeah, come on. How dare you compare us to a pedophile? What are you doing? I told you not to touch the kids. Stop it. You knew what I was when you signed me up. Stop. All right, so from the Daily Caller, many blogs exist on Tumblr showing support for MAPS.
Oh, God.
This is a new term for me. Minor attracted persons. Oh, my God.
It's another acronym, really?
I love how they had a meeting and like, okay, listen, they made it all sound benign, right? Pansexual, okay? Pro-life, right? Gender rights, okay? We're just going to say minor attracted person. Let's just go with MAPS.
Pedophile
We're none the wiser.
Too big for us.
I like it. Keep the names coming. Let's keep brainstorming. We're on a roll.
It's just more letters.
I don't like letters. If they know their ABCs, they're done.
Too old for you.
They said they should be part of the LGBT community, and they're attempting to create a, quote, safe space for them. Okay, I want to be clear about something here. Mm-hmm. Because I'm all for tolerance and all that gay stuff, but the only normalization here should be the normal way. We lock them in a cage, occasionally letting them out of the prison yard with a sign that says, I sex up little kids, possibly when all the guards are taking a Diet Coke break while loading the rubber bullets. That's the normal way you deal with pedophiles. I remember we got so much...
Yeah.
Remember the salon pedophile?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's very recent.
For people who don't... Well, a few years ago, this is back when we were on radio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the salon... For people who don't know, go to loudwithcreditor.com. Salon pedophile wrote... I'm a pedophile, but I'm not a monster.
Right.
And Reg, the Beast, helped us do some research. We found that this pedophile was actively grooming young girls on message boards.
As one does.
Salon's editors were not interested in it at all. And so we posted, you are a monster, and you need to leave the village or you get a bullet. That's my view. Listen, I'm sympathetic. I understand it, but the rehabilitation rate with pedophiles is not very good. We can't let you be near the kids. Sorry. Therapy, do it when you're outside of the village limits. And then there was another article, the monstrous conservative right echo chamber. Remember, they attacked us.
Oh, yeah.
A pedophile.
They fired back.
Active pedophile attacked us.
They have the moral high ground.
And Salon published them 2 more times. Slippery slope. Speaking of slippery, Governor Andrew Cuomo, he says he's going to sue the Supreme Court if they move to roll back Roe v. Wade.
How's that going to work?
He says here, I don't want any gaps in a woman's right to protection. We have a better legal case with the Supreme Court. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so obviously many are just wondering under what grounds he's going to sue the overturning of the for those who don't remember, 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, though many suspect he's still bitter that it came 3 years too late. Andrew Cuomo, you are Kane, sir. All you need is the opportunity. So selfish. The DFC would have one less pool boy. So, he's gonna. This is just what they do. It's like, the Supreme Court, they're gonna have a justice. Let's add more justices.
More justices.
Let's do away with the filibuster rule. Okay, but now let's do back with the filibuster rule. I'm gonna sue somebody. What? You can't sue the Supreme Court on this. I don't know. I'll sue Adam Sandler.
Exactly.
What? Andrew Cuomo suing me? No, don't sue me. Don't sue me, Andrew Cuomo. I mean, that's absurd.
How disappointed are the Cuomo's parents that Chris Cuomo is the less retarded one?
I don't know.
That's bad.
I don't think they're that disappointed.
No.
Elation.
It's
They're walking upright.
Well,
wasn't his father also the governor like decades ago?
Andrew Cuomo?
Andrew Cuomo's father, I think, is also the governor of New York.
Cuomo? More like homo. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Hey, Australian gay farmers are now going naked to raise awareness for mental health issues. This comes from ABC, so you know it's real news.
I was hoping for a better picture than that.
So
we now know where the holes in Swiss cheese come from.
And the cultures. So,
yes.
This is my favorite quote from the ABC article. When the naked farmer came to town looking for people to get their kit off for a good cause, dairy farmer Kerry Wilson was approached to take part. The cause hit a personal chord with the couple, and so they ended up going naked to raise. This is because this is what you do.
Of course.
Though actually, two of the farmers found themselves arrested after allowing a goat to touch them while in the fields. This is something that's been a problem. Yep, they were brought up.
That's against the law. Can't do that.
So speaking of NATO, I'm not necessarily thrilled with our first guest, but he's open to coming on the show. I always have to give credit where it's due. So the Prime Minister of Canada, obviously a country that has not been paying in very much. I've talked about them. I think we have him on the line. Do we have him?
We're connected.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, are you there, sir?
Absolutely, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Let's get to it. NATO, some tension with President Trump and your country paying their fair share. Yeah. Prime Minister, your thoughts?
Yes, Stephen. I definitely have them.
Okay, this is going well. Let's rephrase. How much does Canada specifically pay into NATO as part of your GDP?
I can certainly speak to that, Stephen. Celine Dion is a national treasure. And I have been very fortunate as a Canadian to watch her.
No, this is their classic misdirection. You know what? How about just give me the raw numbers?
Yes, I've been curious about those myself lately. Let me see. Hold on one second.
Is that?
If we carry the one.
I haven't seen it since high school.
4, take into account the shotgun tugboats.
It
appears to be $7.95, Stephen.
$7.95 what?
Plus tax.
That doesn't matter here.
Hold on. I forgot to convert to the American dollar.
Okay.
Oh, wow. It appears about $6.50, Stephen. $650.
Yeah, I was right. And you think that's paying your fair share, especially with the U.S. paying so much more, like $600 billion plus more. That's a lot.
You see, Stephen, that sounds bad.
Yes.
But fair share is a nuanced concept. It's tricky. It's far too nuanced to explore in just this medium.
What medium? It seems pretty cut and dry.
I disagree.
Okay, what's your alternative to the U.S. paying the much higher percentage of our GDP into NATO than Canada?
Well, I think we should all be paying our fair share.
Okay.
But GDP is frankly an antiquated measurement for such a nuanced, nuanced issue like NATO in the modern world.
I'm not entirely sure.
Patriarchy.
Oh, okay. So what are you proposing then?
Yes, it is my core belief, Stephen, that we need to base our contributions to NATO on a more nuanced, and progressive, inclusive measurements.
Okay, like what, for example?
How many blacks your country has? That's to start.
Okay, enough. I get it. Yeah.
9, Stephen. Canada has 9.
Okay, Prime Minister Trudeau, that means you actually have less diversity.
Not when you account for population, Stephen. Plus, we have another shipment from Haiti coming in as we speak.
Shipment?
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
I don't want to hold on any more seconds for this.
The one. Accounted for the incarcerated population, Canada has 6.
That's enough. That's enough.
But also, we believe the GDP payments should factor in things like maple syrup output, the hockey exemption, now known notoriously as the instigator rule, and how many LGBTQ and two-spirited communities and parades that we have here in Canada.
Okay, why the hell are you crying? We're not even.
And the Queen's on your dollar?
Okay, no more of this. Justin Trudeau, everybody.
It's nuanced, Stephen.
No, it's not. Let's
It's nuanced.
get rid of him. I don't know why we keep making.
No.
We really should learn from our mistakes.
Bad decisions.
By the way, learning from mistakes, hit the notification bell. I should just say not the. I hate it when people say it's the notification bell. If you're subscribed on YouTube and you're watching this live stream, subscriptions don't really mean anything, so hit the notification bell. Sometimes you don't get that either, so really the only way to support the show is join Mug Club, loudofcutter.com/mugclub. You get the full hour. This show that you see on Thursday, you get it every single day. So this has been in the news a lot this week.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's needless drama, but I do think that this is indicative of an undercurrent that's important. Not only her, we've had all these people on the show, so I want to try and be fair, but some conservatives tossed their lot in here. Tomi Lahren said that conservatives need to. She spoke in a very absolutist way about conservatives and how we need to deal with social issues. Here you go if you missed it.
Pressing for a Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade would be a huge mistake. We lose when we start tampering with social issues.
Okay. And many, unsurprisingly, disagree.
But this is not any social issue when you're talking about abortion. When you're talking about abortion, you're talking about an issue of protecting human life.
Isn't it funny if you just look at like the pictures side by side? You're like, well, she's gonna take this one as a walk off, but you add sound, and you're like, ooh, that little Jew is bright.
I don't find myself agreeing with Tomi Lahren very often.
Yeah, I don't think.
No offense to her, I just don't.
But she's spunky. I think we actually have a collage there, Sven Computer, of other people who jumped in.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot.
Here's the thing too, and I think Gerald, you were talking about this, and Jared, feel free to disagree, or if you do agree, I understand the cons. Let me clarify here, because then it's going to sound like I'm going in really hard on Tomi. That I'm really upset. I'm not. I understand what she's saying. I understand the concept that as far as strategy, you want to focus on winning issues, and a big political priority needs to be filling up the court, Senate, the House. So rushing right now, or certainly a discussion to overturning Roe v. Wade when there are other victories that are gimmies, certainly may not be the best tact. That would be a valid argument to make, but that's not what she was.
I was about to say, that's not the argument that she made. She said it would be stupid, it would be wrong, and she also, I think, somewhere in the interview said it would be unconstitutional on Fox News. I'm like, wait, what?
No. That's the problem I have with it. People need to. I understand.
She got out of her lane.
When they talk about conservatives, they're talking more specifically about religious morality, being involved in legislation, which I understand that you don't want to get people in there just legislating purely based off whatever their religion says they should. I wouldn't want it happening.
That's why I don't want Ben Shapiro to be a just. I don't want to have to wear a funny hat.
Exactly. But we do have to be honest about the fact that the Constitution was based on a lot of Judeo-Christian principles, and that's where we get our Western civilization sense of morality. So, and I think the Constitution very much backs that up, and that is very consistent.
Well, I think that's important, but I also, and this is what I want to touch on. First off, it's not a Christian thing when we're talking about Roe v. Wade.
No.
And first, before that, let's address the point: is the pro-life message actually a losing issue in 2018? I want to hear what you think about it. Here's something that I find indicative of the left. They are screeching about Roe v. Wade for two reasons. Let me explain this. Number one, there are more self-identified pro-life people now than in a very, very long time.
Thank God.
In the past, this is from Gallup, not exactly a bastion of fake news conservatism. Past decade, we've gone from a 49% pro-choice to 45% pro-life to an even 48-48 split.
Yeah.
Okay? In particular, more young people support abortions being not restricted and regulated than they currently are, like supporting 20-week bans. Okay,
it's because they're more informed on some of these issues. They actually pay attention and read up on it.
That's one of the reasons. I think the main reason is it's for two main reasons. Science progresses. The more we know about human development, the more undeniable it's become that you're ending a human life.
Right.
Yep.
You know, this is one thing when they always say, well, it's about, they used to argue viability. And that has been scaled back. When you pick an argument where you, just like the global warming arguments, where I was talking with somebody, we're talking like, Lake Michigan right now, I think is a 20-something year high. Like, well, it's not an all-time high. Can you give us the 20-year high?
What's it take? What's it really
You said there would be nothing.
You get nothing.
There's more than nothing. Can we at least say that?
Well, I don't believe. You said shoe-in. So, viable, a good example of viable. In 1960, the survival rate for a 3.3-pound baby, Okay, the preemie was 28%. By 2010, it was 78%.
Wow.
That's statistically significant.
And there was we were talking about the 20-week issue, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then we're like, yep, here's a news article just happened the other day. 20-week survives outside the mother's room. It's like, come on, guys, it can really happen.
Well, that's the
science is either science or it's not.
This question I always bring it back to people. What is the difference between a 20-week and a 21-week?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a 12-week and a 13-week? What is really the difference between the 5 and a 6-week? I mean, there are developmental differences, but nothing that I think constitutes a difference in personhood.
No, I think it's and I've never had anyone answer it. And it's not like we just
never will.
We don't just use straw men. We don't just pick people who can't. We picked Naomi Wolf, who I had to read in college, right? We had Lacey Green on. We've had it's
Blame Canada.
Anyone who's willing to come on the program. You're more than welcome. Now every person with a Twitter egg, you know what I'm talking about. Reason number 2, the more we learn. Listen, the more we learn about prenatal development, we know this. It's really just hard for the left to say it's an extension of the woman's body.
Right.
When we're talking about 24 weeks, 26, 20 weeks, period. We know that. Science has said it's not the woman's body at that point. That's undeniable. The second reason is that the left has strayed so far. The second reason to go back, it's a winning issue from this. It used to be safe, legal, and rare. That was the quote.
Not safe for the baby, by the way.
Their mainstream position now on abortion is actually radical. They've created hashtags like shout your abortion. It went from safe, legal, and rare to abortion on demand, taxpayer funded, period.
I regret not having an abortion.
Lena Dunham. What was there something recently? I don't know. It's hard. I don't have enough I only have so much space, and now I have to learn video gaming because of Nogly.
You think of Michelle Wolf, the melting candle.
Yes. Stop it. There are plenty of reasons to attack Michelle Wolf. Her face looking strikingly like a melting candle is not amongst them. Yes.
Well, look, what I would really like for us to do is, I get the point, like you said at the top, I get the point. What I'd like us to do is kind of get out of the way, not put this out in the media, and let the justices take care of this. Because if we start fighting this in the media and create a firestorm over it, I think we could have some problems with it. Even though we're at a 50-50 split now, I still think it causes some problems.
I understand, and this is... Were you about to say something, Jared? I disagree.
You disagree?
Okay. Yeah, I disagree, and that's what I'm saying, because they're so far left, they are so radical. Let me explain to you why. Yeah. So in Colorado, they've actively campaigned and have succeeded in legalizing abortions up to 26 weeks.
Wow.
Okay? There have been 33-week abortions in Colorado, but 26, that's 6.5 months. That's way beyond the point of, oh my, you have a glow. I noticed you didn't order your usual yellow fan. Are you expecting? There's a lack of balance. You're talking about sleepless nights, stretch marks, because you're carrying a 6-month-old child in your womb that could live outside of your womb, and it's legal. And in Colorado, you can kill it. And if the DNC had their way, you could do this across the country. And this is why I disagree with Gerald on this. Respectfully, they have gone so far left. I think that if we argued it in the media with a political voice of opposition who are saying safe, legal, and rare abort. But the fact is, we're saying, hey, how about not abortions at 6.5 months? And they're saying, shout your abortion at 32 weeks. I think we win.
Here's a fun fact, I think, is that medically, a baby who dies before the 20-week mark is considered it's considered a miscarriage.
Yeah.
After 20 week, medically considered a stillbirth. I don't know a lot of people stillbirthing a clump of cells.
Yeah.
Birthing a clump of cells it's not a thing.
Yeah, I know. Not to mention the psychological ramifications.
Yeah.
Any mother who's had either of those will tell you.
And I appreciate what you said, and I would agree with you on some of that stuff. I guess my point is, I feel like the ball is already heading that direction. I feel like the justices are going to overturn this, and we don't have to do a whole lot in the public. I don't think
they will.
I think there are people right now planning for when he gets into the Supreme Court, ready to bring a case.
I think they're gonna constrain certain elements of it. I don't think they're gonna overturn it, and that's why I think they need public pressure.
Yeah, let me change my mind. Yeah, maybe not completely overturn it, but at least put some constraints or push it back down to the states even.
Well, okay, so this brings us to the next reason that the left is screeching about Roe v. Wade. It's bad law. This is something they aren't screaming about Obergefell Hodges, right? Versus Hodges that's supporting the gay marriage, or Gruder versus Bollinger that's upholding affirmative action, right? They're not screeching about that to the same degree. They're screaming about Roe v. Wade because it is based on for those who don't understand, most people think Roe v. Wade means that abortion, okay, this is exactly what it means, the interpretation. It's this flimsy idea that the right to privacy is under the due process clause, and that includes the right to an abortion, and it's enforceable on a federal level. Yeah. This is why I think that it's a winning issue. I don't think it's the first issue we go to, but why do I think long-term it's a winning issue? The left has become the religious zealot zealots. They've become the doomsday theorists. They've become the snake handlers. They're going, the world will end on April 26, 2009. Well, where'd you get that? It says in Revelation somewhere in the back, if you look at these numbers and you cross-reference them and you carry the one. But hold on a second. What about don't steal? What about be good to your wife? What about, no, I really want to focus on the April 26. I think this is a good direction to go. That's like the left with the Constitution. Hold on a second. Under the right to private, under the due process clause, that includes abortion. Well, hold on. What about the freedom of speech? And you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, but the abortion. But hold on a second. What about the Second Amendment and the right to? You can't. I'm pretty sure it's about abortion with privacy laws. They are the far left version of the religious snake handler, and I just want to point them out for it.
Yep.
So right away, if we can scientifically prove and or agree, for people out there, if you're not, I know we have a lot of libertarians who aren't pro-life. I don't expect you to be.
Yeah.
But if we can agree that a 6.5-month-old baby, or even a 5-month or a 4-month-old, is not your body, but another human, the law holds no water because killing it isn't within your right to privacy. And here's another example with the left. The walls of science are closing in.
Yep.
They're finding themselves in the bog of eternal stench. It is, finally, too, even if you got Roe v. Wade, this is, if you got it completely overturned.
If you completely overturn it, yeah.
Which I don't think is going to happen.
Right, I agree.
Very unlikely. Like I said, I think it's more likely that they constrain some things. You know what happens? Do you know what happens? Anyone?
To go back to the States?
It goes back to the states.
God, there we go.
The states that want taxpayer-funded murder clinics, they'll still be able to do so. They already have laws in California, Connecticut,
all those places that love
Hawaii,
children, yeah.
Maine. Where else? Maryland.
Maybe Maryland.
I would assume Delaware. I don't have it in front of me, but I know for sure California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Maine. They already have laws on their books to maintain abortions if it's overturned because those states have priorities. Hey, California, you have the worst economy. As long as the abortion thing is taken care of, we're going to be aces. So when the left is saying that women will lose all their rights, it's going to be like a Handmaid's Tale season 2. What they're really saying is that, okay, you have a right to tax subsidize abortion from the federal government, and if we go to merely having to live in a state where you can legally pay for your own abortion, or in the case of places like California, the state still can, as opposed to the federal government, as opposed to the federal taxpayer from 5 states over, that you are clearly forfeiting your rights as a card-carrying vagina screamer. So you tell me if the anti-Roe versus Wade argument is really such a losing one, and why is the left screaming about it from the hilltops? You don't scream about something that you're winning. You ever see someone who's winning a sports game pitch at the ref? It's pretty rare. And why are they omitting everything that we just talked about? Final point here. Even if it were unpopular, let's say none of what we just said were true, and I highly recommend you check the sources that Sven Computer brought up. I highly recommend you go read this first and look at the science of the development of a human being. But even if none of it were true, okay, right? If I were the religious snake handler, at some point, it doesn't matter. As far as how I'll handle it. To me, anyway, I don't care if it's unpopular. I don't care if we win Senate seats. If it comes at the price of not speaking up for the 6.5-month-old babies being killed in Colorado. Some things go beyond politics. The saving of human life, more importantly, preserving a culture that values the life of a baby. I don't care if it's going to be less popular than Kesha. It's going to be at the top of my list. I'm not going to shy away from it. So is it the first argument that I go to? No. Is it the first hill I climb over? No. But it's certainly a hill that I'm willing to die on. We have 6.5-month-old, even if it's 5-month-old infants being chopped up and sucked out of their mother's womb because of bad, crappy interpretation of a privacy clause. Good thing for us, though, with abortion, there are some easy wins on the horizon. No one needs to die in the mountain. I know you're thinking of being a baby. We could just abort me. These are easy. They're just easy wins. I think we have Stefan Molyneux coming up first, and then Nogla.
No, I forget now.
Coming back.
Dang it.
That's time to deliver the cookies. Get back. We got it on time.
Help! Help! Help!
Dollar Shave Club's One Wipe Charlies. Don't get caught with your pants down. DollarShaveClub.com/Crowder for your $5 sampler kit today. Before they run out. You filthy animal.
That's because our next guest is a knockout. He's a knockout punch. Knockout. I wouldn't say so much. He's a good-looking guy, more of a ruggedly handsome, but I wouldn't say knockout. I mean knockout just as far as entertainment value and intellectual.
And luckily,
value.
you can always get the perfect white balance on him.
This is true. Yes, it's very easy. Yeah. Unless he really has been out of the sun for a while, then it just blends in. All right, if you hear that voice, you know exactly who it is. It's at Stefan Molyneux. Of course, Free Domain Radio. You know him. Many of you love him. Some of you hate him, but we don't really care. Stefan, how are you, sir?
I am very well. Just got our visas for Lauren Southern and I are going to do a tour of Australia and believe a dip into New Zealand, and it was quite a while getting those visas. I'm not sure it was an entirely objective process, but the Australian public, God bless their koala-laden hearts, rose up as one, almost as one, and said, let these people into the country. We want to hear what they have to say. So I'm very pleased, very excited.
Why do you need a visa just to do speaking engagements there?
I think Lauren.
Oh, sorry, we got some glitches with the audio. Hopefully you can still hear me.
It's a working thing.
Okay, it's a working thing. Because when I've done speaking engagements, when I was in Ireland, but I've done speaking engagements in Canada, the United States. Yeah, maybe I should stop talking. I didn't know you needed a visa just to do speaking. With stand-up, I don't know how that works.
I don't know either. I just take I take the advice of the people who seem to know what they're talking about, and so that was a necessary thing, and it took its own sweet time, but it's all squared away, and hopefully people will come and realize these are not the Nazis you're looking for. We're just people who want to have an interesting conversation about culture and history and immigration and take questions from the audience. It's going to be a blast, and people's fears will be proven to be rather unfounded.
That's wishful thinking, because if they're not going to stop calling Ben Shapiro with the yarmulke on a Nazi, someone as translucent as you and Lauren Southern haven't got a shot. So you're still going to be tagged with that one.
Don't bring the background.
No, see, here's the thing, though, Stephen, is that what I'm going to do, this is my big plan. Let me know what you think of it. This is my big plan.
Oh, wait, this is your final plan? Is this what's like?
This
you're
is
not
my
helping
big.
yourself.
Is this patented yet?
That's my big plan. There will be people who are, outraged and upset.
Sure.
But what I'm going to do, you see, is I'm going to bring data, reason, evidence, calm, conversation, negotiation, and debate. And it's going to be a giant epicenter tidal wave of healing that is going to pass on through the world. And I'm going to remain entirely undisappointed in the outcome of my plan.
So you're like a critical thinking Benny Hinn. I like it.
I don't think that's copyright. I'm taking that.
Yeah,
that's my idea.
Well, there's always that balance that we were talking about, where calm and unless someone gets violent or disruptive or calls to violence, and that's what we do to change my mind. And then the other side of that coin is Crowder confronts, where a little bit dickish. Hey, so you're good. You're squared away with that. Speaking of hysteria, what's been your view here on the Supreme Court? Did you have anyone you were really rooting for in this kind of race?
My only real disappointment with the Supreme Court is that no one announced my actual tour dates. So just because I know Trump meant to do that, like before announcing the Supreme Court picks, so let me just run through those real quick.
Yeah, go through the tour dates. I'm sorry. And by the way, where's the best place for people to find these online if they don't have an auditory memory?
So it's axiomatic.events. Axiomatic.events. You can go get your tickets. I think there's still a few left. Melbourne, Friday, 20th of July. Perth, Sunday, 22nd of July. Adelaide, Tuesday, 24th of July. Sydney, Saturday, the 28th of July. Brisbane, Sunday, 29th of July. And Auckland, New Zealand. And Friday, the 3rd of August. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be one of these things like, when the police first toured Canada, there were like 12 people in the club, but everyone in Canada claims to be those 12 people. Right. Just be one of the people who's there. You don't want to miss it.
This is true. Yeah, everyone loves to claim that they were there. I think, no, not so much. You kind of became a fan with the Sting afterwards. And then, where's the T-shirt? If you were there...
I was into the queue before Love Cats, man. Before Love Cats.
Yes, exactly. I saw them open for Billy Joel, but I left before Billy Joel. I don't believe you.
Right.
Okay. So
I was hoping they were going to actually open up Billy Joel. Just like open him right up.
I'm a Billy Joel fan. I know for some reason it's not cool to be a Billy Joel fan, but when I grew up, I loved Tom Jones and I loved Billy Joel. They were my guilty pleasures until I decided I don't care anymore. I have enough money. So
this funny thing about Billy Joel, if you're a Billy Joel fan, first of all, some of the best pipes in the business, and he's one of the guys whose voice has only improved with age. But man, you got to be a patient guy. What has it been, like a decade and a half or 17 years since his last new material? I mean, that guy, he has a repetition compulsion with his 80s stuff, but you got to be patient for the new stuff, man.
Well, he said he'll never write music better than he wrote in his 30s. And so he said, I'm just not going to try. And there are two different schools of thought. I mean, when you hear like Paul McCartney's newest stuff, you're kind of like, all right, man, time to pack it in. So, yes. Whereas, who was it I saw? I think it was Norah Jones. And she was doing this weird techno thing. It's like, I'm not going to play what you want me to play. But that's why we paid for a ticket. So I understand it, but you're right. He threw his creative back out by the time he hit 36. Mind-numbing drugs will do that to you. So, Supreme Court, we got off track. You've been following this. Do you have anyone specifically you were rooting for in this turtle race?
I am a big one for deferring to experts, and there are a few select people that I trust. You would be one of them, but also another person that I trust in the media. Immigration is the number one issue. Ann Coulter is the number one advocate for a rational immigration policy. So I like whoever Ann Coulter likes, and she seems real keen on this guy. And I hate to say, and I hate to abandon all judgment for my own, but it's like, if it's good enough for Ann, I think it's good enough for just about anyone.
I understand where you're coming from too, because when I voted in the first Canadian election, Stephen Harper, I did. That was the first person I ever voted for. I remember I followed American politics a whole lot more, and I knew I wasn't going to brush up on everything regarding the parliamentary system. I couldn't know everything. I did know the NDP and the Liberals actually supported defense of pedophile pornography under the guise of art back then. I was like, oh, that's a red flag. But I remember I did have to ask some people at that point whose opinions I really respected and ask for some literature. So there's nothing wrong with that. It seems like either way we're probably going to get a better deal on immigration than we've been having. But the left's hysteria, particularly, hasn't been on immigration, if you've noticed. It's been the Roe v. Wade conversation, that women will cease to exist. I'm curious as to your view on this, as I don't want to misgender you, misdefine you here, a Christian sort of sympathetic atheist. What's your point of view on this landscape right now?
Well, that's a big question. I have significant moral reservations about abortion, and and this is a cliche, but nonetheless it's true, and it's happened to me, Stephen. Is that after you become a father, it ain't just a cluster of cells. It ain't just something hanging out there like some moss in a cave. This is a potential human being with jokes and thoughts and insights and intelligence and reason. This is like a huge potential human being. And so I have big, big reservations about it. That having been said, at the same time, there's so much that would be cleared up if we weren't forced to all pay for each other. I think drugs should be legalized, but at the same time, I don't want my taxes being jacked up to pay for people who want to smoke weed all day and sit on their couch, rather because, they can do that.
Right.
So I don't like the idea of just saying abortion is perfectly fine, perfectly legal, you can go kill your babies and so on. And at the same time, though, if you say, you can have all of this free abortion, and then I've got to pay for it, that's a big problem as well. Because, the destruction of families and the absence of fatherhood and the lack of responsibility and so on.
Right.
So to me, it all comes down to like immigration. It's the welfare state. I don't know if you heard of these guys, these migrants who got rescued by a boat that took them back to Tunisia, but they wanted actually to get to the welfare state in Europe, so they threatened to behead the captain and the crew, as you do when you're rescued from sea. I remember that last scene in Titanic. Actually, it may have got dropped from the movie. Yeah, it may have got dropped from the movie when the person who came to rescue Kate Winslet, she attempted to chew his head off with her own teeth. But to me,
it's just the same Somali pirate.
I was going to say, that's what he didn't pass the screen test. They just held that Somali pirate in reserve for Captain Phillips.
Captain now.
And now he's a rom-com.
So if I'm not forced to pay for people's bad decisions, then I find myself a lot more open-minded to these bad decisions. But right now, if you allow for if you ban abortion, there will of course be to a short degree an increase in illegitimate births. It will probably gear down over the long run as people's consequences change people's decisions.
Yeah.
But forcing everyone else to pay for that, it's a bad scene. It's a bad idea.
Bad scene. And of course, they're well beyond that milestone in Canada, and Quebec, where I'm from, is terrible. One of the highest, I think, the highest abortion rate in the industrialized world, if you were to rate it as a country, which it's not, but we kind of wish it were sometimes. I guess my question.
So Quebec is kind of weird too, because Quebec went from like 4,000 children a woman down to 9 abortions and half a dog. Just can you find something in the middle between swamping the planet in Quebecois and having no children at all? Something in the middle would be fine. It's like the Germans.
How much does an abortion cost? Genuine question. Without insurance.
In Quebec? or here?
Here in States.
I genuinely have no. I know at Planned Parenthood it's a few $100s.
A few hundreds. It's not like having a colon removed.
No, it's not that expensive.
No.
And they mostly deal in cash only.
Yeah.
Especially if you go to alley number 12. So here's I guess my question is more so because there have been some people saying, well, conservatives should just stay off social issues completely. And another, which I don't necessarily, I don't disagree with the idea that, hey, like you said, cut off the head of the dragon first, the giant welfare state, so we're not paying for it. Or I understand that being tactful matters. But I don't believe that we should abandon social issues, certainly not if it involves, and it's not a social issue if you believe that that is a person. But as a Christian sympathizing atheist, what I'm interested in, as far as your opinion, is they base this argument on the idea that we'll lose all libertarians and all non-Christian evangelicals if we have some kind of a stance on abortion. And the more I've been encountering a lot of atheists, a lot of libertarians, and the more science progresses, it seems that's not the case, and it's actually a winning argument, at least to put some limitations on it.
Well, at least from the cultural standpoint, can we at least understand that, you know, Michelle Wolf saying, God bless abortion, that is a celebration of nihilism. That is a celebration of death. So even if you are saying, okay, well, the woman should have the right to terminate her pregnancy, even though the man has no right to financially terminate his involvement, if you say that the woman has it, let's at least recognize it is a terrible, horrible thing. It causes depression. It causes, tragic. This would have been, my child would have been 5. You know, like for anybody with a conscience, an abortion is a disaster. Let's at least say, okay, if it's legal, it's legal, but let's not celebrate this killing of an unborn child. Let's at least get to the point where we can say, this is a terrible, terrible disaster. Let's not celebrate it, and let's do everything we can to minimize its recurrence. And let's also recognize that when women have 18 different forms of birth control, not including a dime is a very cheap form of birth control. You put it between your knees and you keep it there. You have 18 forms of birth control. How on earth are you getting pregnant?
Yeah. No, it is. And by the way, it's not for lack of education today in 2018. My wife volunteers at a crisis pregnancy center where they actually do offer screenings. They actually do offer free ultrasounds. They actually do offer nannying services and job listings for single mothers, resources, support for adoption. They don't do any of those things at Planned Parenthood. But I think what you just said is right. I mean, shout your abortion was the hashtag. And I think that's why it opens the door to it being a winning argument. They're saying celebrate abortion, taxpayer-funded, period. I don't think that conservatives need to shy away from saying, no, this is a really bad thing that has bad societal ramifications. We've gone too far, regardless of Roe v. Wade. But I do think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Were you about to say something there?
No, it's just interesting to me how far the pendulum has swung the other way. It's almost like, I don't know what's a reaction to, for them to go from safe, legal, and rare, not safe for the baby, by the way, but going all the way to celebrate. Like, you got Lena Dunham saying, I regret not having an abortion.
Yeah, it's
crazy. What's it? It seems like it's a reaction to something, but I can't pinpoint what it is because they've gotten more and more leeway with them.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, well, certainly as far as some of the theories around population replacement, it's not that hard to figure out that what's America had 50 million abortions and 50 million immigrants. That's a clear, scoop something out and put something else in, replace the tire, oh, look, we don't have enough people in America. Hey, we've got to import all these people from the third world. That's not a great idea. One of the big solutions, though, there's a wonderful free market solution to the problem of abortion, even if it remains perfectly legal. One of the big problems is there's no market for babies. And so a woman can't sell her baby. I know that people are like, oh, that's terrible. And that's interesting because people react to that like you're going to set up a website called eBaby and sell them online and so on. And people say, well, that's terrible. That's terrible. The baby gets to live. In what scenario is it terrible that the parent that the baby gets to live? Because, 10% of married couples are infertile, have big problems conceiving. They desperately want babies. And so you have people with a deficiency of fertility and you have other people with an excess of fertility. Let's have the market close them off. Let's have people pay to have to get other people's babies. And it's like, and if you're appalled by that, then you have some idea how appalling abortion is to other people.
That's a good analogy. I don't know where I line up on selling babies. I understand I need to think about it. There certainly would need to be some markers in place to protect against.
The real question is, what does Michelle Wolf think?
Yes, what does she think?
We should celebrate.
But I will say this: I caught
a
lot of flack for saying that I think you should be able to sell your kidneys if you want, because I'm going, hold on a second. Everyone's making money in this equation. The doctor's making money. The anesthesiologist's making money. The guy's getting a kidney. The only one who isn't is the guy volunteering. There's no what's the incentive here unless it's my uncle and my dad makes me. So
I feel if you're actually getting sawn open, you should be making the most money in that situation because no one else is getting. The guy who's bleeding out half on the table, the guy who's having someone go in there with some Monty Python hacksaw to carve out an essential piece of innards. I got no problem with that guy making money. All the people who aren't making money.
Exactly. It's like the meat of the day. It gets market value. Okay, we do have to get going. Again, where is the best place for people to find your tour dates coming up in Australia? That sounds like a party, and I hope you're safe.
It's going to be great. Axiomatic.events. A couple of tickets left. There's some meet and greets. You can have dinner with Lauren and I. We do private chats, which is going to be great fun. Looking forward to meeting everyone. Thanks a lot for your time, Stephen. Always a great pleasure to chat.
Axiom Events. Okay, and you can follow him at Stefan Molyneux. We have to get going. Okay, dear, I need to hear this music here coming in, and we'll be back after this.
Greetings, America. This week, Boy Humans letting me do the live read. DollarShaveClub.com/Crowder. You can get your free $5. It's not free though. It's a $5 sampler kit. It's not free. Can we read? This is live. Okay. You get a sampler kit, and they have head shampoo, body wash, and razors, and they have the balls to support this program, which I'm envious. But I can't shave because I don't have thumbs.
I'm back in the pennies again. Good for the sunshine or rain. When duty calls, they'll be swaddling my balls. Back in the pennies again. Right in the pennies once more. Some call me a queer comfort whore, where the quality's pure delight and the price is just right. Back in the panties again.
Ranger panties available at louderwithcrowdershop.com. Get yours today. It's like teabagging an angel.
Have you ever actually seen a gorilla do this?
No, I feel like it's false advertisement.
I've seen it once. I've seen a one, like a scratch.
I have,
but not the counterbalance.
Poop. They do actually do that
with tremendous accuracy
and velocity.
Startling, almost one would say. Especially when you're an old lady in a wheelchair. It's still the funniest video on the internet.
Basic Major League Baseball is always a thing.
It is a thing.
Option.
I always wonder if you could train somebody. Like we had Brian Shaw on, and how strong he is, how insanely strong. A chimpanzee would embarrass him if you could train a chimpanzee to bench press. If you can give a chimpanzee red wine and Xanax and the remote
like
control.
With the Bug Club, can we arrange this? I think Brian Shaw versus
I'm pretty sure it's a violation of animal rights somewhere.
Damn you, Peter.
All right, but I'm really glad to have our next guest. A lot of Cutter listeners and watchers out there were saying, I don't know, they didn't know exactly how this was going to go. They just were surprised that we were having him on. But we had been communicating via direct message for a while, and he's got like 6 million something subscribers on the YouTube.
That's a lot.
Video gaming. Last time I played a video game, I was telling him was Medal of Honor online with the M1 carbine, and it would go bing, and the Germans would come at you. This is fascinating AI. But you can follow him on the Twitter at Daithi De Nogla, DAITHIDENOGL De Nogla. I just got it wrong. It's Gaelic, and it's the same YouTube channel. Mr. Nogla. Now I'm getting paranoid. How are you, sir?
When we first said hi, you did it correctly.
I know. I got in my own head.
We'll fix all this.
You overthought it, man.
Well, I didn't know when we were in Ireland. There are Gaelic road signs that it's
yeah. That's true. That's true.
Do people still?
They only speak it properly in like the Gaeltacht, where it's only Irish there. Most people they got like they can say their own name and their age, and that's it. Like it's very little kind of knowledge there.
Then it would
common people.
It would seem dangerous to make that exclusively the road signs. It would seem as though maybe they should just go.
No, they got English too.
They do.
We'd be screwed otherwise.
I can imagine. Well, listen, Mr. De Nogla, or Buckaroo, we'll just say from now on. Glad to have you on the program. What spurred this? First off, I know. Listen, for people out there, don't slander, don't rake his name through the mud because he's on my show. He's not a crazy far right winger to the right of Attila the Hun like myself. But why would you even consider visiting us?
Well, personally speaking, like I watch, especially when the election kind of heated up a lot.
Yes.
I actually moved for a couple of months to Los Angeles So I lived there a couple of months out of the year and then a couple of months here. I really like Los Angeles. It's just, I like weird people. I don't know why.
Well, that's the place to find them, along with a lot of other things you're not looking to find. Some microscopic, but hope you come
For
back.
sure. But all that kind of stuff was heating up, and that's kind of what piqued my interest into kind of the political sphere and whatnot. So I just kind of dabbled and I looked at different sides, and obviously one side was yours.
Yes.
And the main thing that keeps me there is kind of like the humor. You mix it up, which has kept me kind of interested.
Yes,
and
it's a mix of humor and dishonesty. That's if you read the articles,
the magic recipe.
That's the magic recipe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we have you. And would you say that because when we were in Ireland, let me say this: we were in Ireland. A lot of people held sort of conservative or traditionalist views, but thought that they just hated conservative Americans when they lined up quite a bit. I think they have this misconstrued notion about what we are. Do you think there's some of that?
Yeah, I don't think, in my mind, at least personally, I don't think a lot of Irish people even know the difference between Democrat and Republican.
Right.
Like if you ask them which side they're leaning, probably a majority of them wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
So, I wouldn't really blame them if they're mixing up kind of like their perspectives.
And half of them are drunk. But
internet if you're asking drunk people about politics, you're probably.
Although actually, when we did the show in the pub, the only drunk was a Scot, and he was drinking Budweiser. And he's like, I love Trump! And he walked in and stole the show. Let me ask, because if I don't remember correctly, you at least said some nice things about Ben Carson, which being in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I thought very, very early on he did quite well, and like showing the statistics, he was growing a lot.
Yeah.
But then he just completely screwed up, and I didn't know he had that part of his personality at the time that I was kind of like really positive about him.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's not created for the public sphere. I feel like he's more of an industrial kind of guy behind the kind of desk or whatever. But in terms of people's faces and talking in public often, it seems like he kind of, he says things that.
I think it seems like he almost, and here's the thing, I don't think he like really screwed up.
It's like he sabotaged himself, to be really honest.
You know what though? I don't think there was any, I mean, do you think there was a moment where he screwed up? I just think he fizzled out. I think he was like, I've been a brain surgeon all my life and I'm just tired. I think he just.
I don't know if there was, I think it was his lack of I guess, information about like foreign affairs and other stuff like that. Right. I think like when they kind of scrutinized him on certain things, he seemed weak.
Right.
I think people saw that and they kind of like moved on, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that because I've seen, I looked at kind of through some of your tweets as we do research on any people who come on, and I just saw some very nice, reasonable things about Dr. Ben Carson. I thought, well, that's odd. You don't see that a whole lot. And so
those tweets are like 2 years old.
Well, no, but I just think because there's far left and there's this far right, not so much far, but there's the left and then there's far right, I guess we can say. But when you in this moment in time 2 years ago, you liked Ben and you said some very kind things that were reasonable. But at that snippet in time, remember, the left was trying to paint him as an Uncle Tom, racist, invalid moron, and you're taking your life in your hands in LA if you even say, actually, I think he's okay. Was that a part of, even if later on he didn't do well in the election, the way they attacked him, do you think that was a part in maybe some of your evolution where you're going, hold on a second, this seems like a decent...
No, I don't think that had much impact because I just consider that noise, in my opinion.
Okay.
I just consider it noise, so it's just like, I kind of drown it out.
So what would you attribute it to? Like kind of getting more interested?
I'll have to recollect a bit there now. I think a reason was I just didn't feel like he could have won as well.
Oh, I don't mean Ben Carson. Sorry, I should have clarified my question. What point did you sort of start to? I hate to use the term like open your mind and kind of take an interest in
politics. Walk, red pilled.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that because then again, I have a bunch of Pepes coming in like, you're one of us.
Yeah.
Pet Cemetery, you have arisen again.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know all sides and the memes and all sides and what each side has to say about the other. But I would say soon after Trump became like the main Republican nomination.
Yeah.
So it was 1-on-1 versus Hillary. And I think then that's when I started asking like a lot of questions. Okay. Because at that stage, I think most people had a skeptical view of both people. Like neither of them are really worthy of much kind of worship, you know?
Right. Yeah.
They're not like the polished Obama.
Yeah.
You know? So both of them have very obvious flaws. And so when two people have very obvious flaws, you got to ask questions.
Yeah.
Then, instead of just ignoring the flaws and just going with one.
So kind of at that point...
Out of my own curiosity. I didn't vote. It was just curiosity.
Right. Well, but so would you say, I guess at that point, sort of having to look at the lesser of two evils almost forced you to examine it more?
Yeah, examine it more, examine like my conscience more, and see what are the things that really matter and what are the things that are blown out of proportion and yada, yada, yada. Because obviously it's a war of words out there.
And what would you say really matters to you? Like I noticed a lot of newer sort of, I guess, non-liberals, let's just use that wide umbrella, free speech is a big thing. Is that a big component for you?
Yeah, free speech is fairly important. I think like a good structural economic kind of philosophy is really, really important. And I think kind of individual rights is a pretty big one too.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, I think like I don't like governments that are extremely controlling of aspects of people's lives. So I don't like that at all. That always goes downhill. So basically a government set up to easily control, you know, the people that it's supposed to serve.
Sure.
That's probably the main one.
Congratulations.
Control.
You like America.
Controlling it seems.
Yes, exactly. Congratulations.
More I'm against it.
You like America, and in 2018, no other governments. How is this? What's the reaction like in the gaming community, or do you talk about it with people at all when you're doing the game?
I tend to find the gaming community actually kind of veers more towards like more towards economic values. Like most of my friends, they don't care too much. They like the tax breaks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all businessmen themselves.
A lot of money in the gamer community, I'm guessing. It's like, this Minecraft, I don't have enough mattresses to stuff it. Hopefully Trump's cuts come through. I am getting ringed, buddy.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the main thing I've kind of noticed, at least from guys.
Yeah, well, and it's a heavily male community, I've noticed.
Jobs is a big thing from guys as well.
Really? Gamers are looking for jobs. There you go. Let it never be something negative.
They care about stuff like that.
No, exactly. And I remember there was a big attack on the gaming community from obviously the feminist left for a while. And
there was some like gay thing or something.
Well, not just that, but the whole industry, right, was saying it's too male-centric. Yeah. You see that with late night comedy. They say it's too male-centric. And I go, well, don't just look at the hosts, look at the viewership. The viewership of late night has been predominantly male because they like to watch comedy at night, and women tend to watch other things. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there need to be.
Yeah, it's just feminine and masculine side of things.
Yeah, as it relates to content. I have noticed, though, I don't know if you've noticed this with the gaming community, it does seem to be leaning. We're seeing a swing, and I wonder if it's just temporary with Donald Trump, like you mentioned, kind of Trump-Hillary, or if it's almost like a shift between sort of Napster and the music industry, if it's that monumental, where it seems like a lot of young men who at one point would have been very far left out of a sense of rebellion are becoming more right-leaning out of a sense of the counterculture, particularly with guns, particularly with free speech, and particularly
I think like a lot of gamers are very edgy.
Yeah.
And to be edgy, it's difficult to be edgy and leftist. It's very difficult to be
Tell
both.
that to every late night host on television ever right now. Every single one of them. Like, I'm edgy. Don't Christians suck? Blah.
Never heard that one.
So
yeah, like I'll make a lot of variety jokes, but obviously some stuff you stay off to kind of, not get in too much hot water. But But yeah, I find that I think gaming will always be very centrist, more leaning towards the right, and the reason why is because majority of games are extremely practical and efficient.
Okay.
Like you have to make the best out of what you're doing all the time.
That's a good point.
And so that doesn't really go with socialism, unfortunately, for socialism.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
The idea of practical efficiency and socialism, usually one of the major kind of points when I noticed like government is hugely lacking in efficiency is when I went and got a visa and it was like 5 hour wait to talk to someone for like a minute, and
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and everyone's just sitting doing nothing, and the line's so slow, and you got to go through like 4 or 5. I'm just like,
yeah,
the red tape, like it's just so much behind the scenes that slows things down, and I think that's why gaming is more centrist than anything else.
That was the last time I went to the DMV. It was this lady who was sitting there, was nothing to do. The only thing she was working on was her diabetes, and she couldn't get to me. I think Sam got ready to come and bring me something. I don't, because I had a license, I had a proof of citizen, I had my birth certificate, and I had my tax return, and they said it wasn't enough, that I needed my actual social security card. I'm like, my social security card, my number is on my tax return. Like, that says tax ID number. I'm like, you named it that! It's my social security number! And they asked me to leave. Yeah, I had to go back a week later. That's a good point, though. Gaming, by definition, kind of like sports, is entirely results-oriented. Equal opportunity, sure, anyone can play the game. You cannot ensure equal results. And I have noticed that in any field where it's hyperly competitive, and it's really tough to tip the scales as far as the results, you tend to shuffle out some, and as you get toward the upper echelon, there are more right-leaning people.
Is there also a chance that it's due to... Gaming is a community sort of event in a lot of ways, but it's also very much an individualist event.
Yeah.
Especially historically.
Yeah, I agree.
I saw The Wizard with the Power Glove, Fred Savage. Do you think there's truth to what you're saying there? Or is he
people want to go work?
I think, like, yeah, definitely, because there's a variety of games. Like, there's a lot of individual games where you have to pump hours and hours and hours into the game, and, you know, that brings a lot of, like, personal attachment.
Yeah.
And so... I think there was like a particular, I don't know the name of it. It was like triangular or something, like it was trying something, but it was like this weird philosophy of politics created in like the 1920s by like, I think it was some, what are their names? There's some monks or something.
Oh, the triangle? No, you're talking about the Illuminati. That's for Beyonce's secret podcast. You can do that next.
It's basically like a big part of its philosophy is small businesses.
Yes.
Like how to like give like and build up the working and middle classes to have a big amount of small businesses.
Well, if you're looking to, like I know you said you're interested in all sides. I'd recommend reading Smith, Adam Smith. That's the guy who invented the term the invisible hand that determines markets. We always talk about Hayek, we talk about Karl Marx, and we talk about Lenin. We talk about today Noam Chomsky. I think Thomas Sowell's up there, but Smith is really great baseline reading. It's simple. It's easy to understand. He's a European, so there you go. You guys can claim that one. You know, it's not just soccer, and I highly recommend it. But hey, listen, we do have to get going. The YouTube channel. Course. Can you say it so that I don't mispronounce it here?
Oh yeah, sure. Daithi De Nogla.
I wasn't going to get that in a million years. Thanks so much for coming. And let's have you back if there's anything specific. And of course, I apologize immediately for the blowback that you'll receive for even talking with us.
I won't get any negative stuff here.
Oh, you wait and see.
I'm very positive about that.
We got to go and wrap this show up in a nice bow. Oh, there's the music. There's the music.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk. Oh, the grizzly bear, one of nature's most beautiful creatures, and in one of its frequent twists of irony, also its most deadly. Weighing in at over, my lord, that grizzly bear is humongous. Are you seeing this?
Yes, just keep reading the lines, Jasper.
No, I mean really, I don't think I've ever seen a land mammal. Outside of the elephant, but they're non-aggressive. This animal is clearly a monster. I wonder what would happen if you put this grizzly bear in an arena with a male silverback gorilla.
I don't think that's legal, Jasper. Just keep going with the lines there.
No, I mean, we have some budget here at Wild at Large. I really think that if we could set that up, if we could work with the zoos and get a male grizzly bear and a silverback gorilla and just let them go to town, I really think that'd be something.
Damn it, Jasper, just do the lines.
Well, I sure think our viewers would get a kick out of it. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
for me. Cover for me. Oh.
I'm okay. I'm good.
That was called the accurate recreation of the physicality of water with the. I realized whenever you wear a shirt.
Oh, I see. Because blue.
Yeah, because when I was gone for the no. Your shirt. I was at a pool and a fat kid always wore the T-shirt and I noticed it. And he kept going. Like, stop! No!
You ever done jumping jacks in a cold pool? It feels like it's going up your beanhole. That's not a lie.
First off, I would never think about doing jumping jacks in a swimming pool. And if I did, and that happened once, I would stop. How many jumping jacks did you do?
Like 5.
Oh,
at least.
All right, yeah.
By the way,
at that point, it's just internal cleansing.
I have a correction to make. Richard Painter, not state senate. No, he's going for gold.
He is going for gold.
He's going for gold.
Let us know. We've talked about. By the way, thanks to our guest. What's his name?
I don't know. I forget.
Naga.
Daithi
De Nogla. De Nogla.
Daithi De Nogla.
Damn it.
Got it. We'll fix that in post.
Very nice guess. I hope we have. It's just I'm not good with that. I don't speak Gaelic.
No.
None of us do.
Do you think Richard Painter's going to win?
It's tradition. Well, I think we talked about this earlier this week. For people who are not Mug Club members, we are considering, and let us know in the comment section if you like that. We are considering going to cover Richard Painter's actual Senate debate. It would be press row with all of the Minnesota. I don't know their main papers. I don't know if it's the St. Paul Herald. I have no idea. And us.
If you can,
I think it would be worthwhile. I want him to win.
If he can put, because no one's going to remember him, but on the ballot, if he could put Richard Dumpster Fire Painter, I think he's a shoo-in.
And entering the ring, we have Richard Dumpster Fire
It's not a political thing. It's not a political thing. They're just renewing the season at that point.
He has a very looping left and a right. It depends on the circumstances. He goes left and right with his mouth. I don't know.
Yes, all the time.
You had a good point, actually. We were talking about this during the break.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot with the voting thing, and people say, "Oh, vote for winning issues." And I was thinking, like, I get what they're saying.
Yes.
But I was thinking, like, if you are not voting through the prism of your morality, if it's based on Christian Judeo values or whatever it is, what are you voting for? Sharia. Great stuff there.
Is not compatible with the Constitution. Hold on, I have to go stab my mom. Okay, well, we'll continue with your thoughts.
Buckle belt.
It's a buckle belt. Jesus was watching over her.
That always gets me straight. But if you're only voting pragmatically, like what are you doing? How do you feel good about yourself at the end of the night? Like, what is it? Why even do it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I understand having a winning path to achieving your goal. Okay, this isn't the first.
Certainly, as you spend other people's time and what you're trying to convince them of.
Right. Like if you're a boxer and you've got a great overhand, right, you need to set it up with a jab. I understand that. But if you're just going in there and you're running away the whole time, why are you in the fight?
And right now with abortion, there's so much misinformation out there, so much bad science going on.
Yeah.
That I think it's a very clear open path to talk to people, because a lot of people it's not a long, you don't need an hour-long debate.
It's not a very long conversation
to really reach people. It's a very short conversation about some very poignant questions.
I think it's unpopular. It's one of our lesser popular Change My Minds, and a big reason is a lot of people are just uncomfortable with the topic of abortion.
Yeah.
But they are the ones
gross.
but they're probably the most productive ones.
Yeah.
Where people go,
so.
Okay, all right, I understand that now. We had several people say, I hadn't thought about it before. I'm going to go home and do my research.
Especially when you bring out the chart and be like, okay,
it's hard
draw the line.
chart.
Draw the line.
And you know what I realized, though, with the left, to kind of get to my, I don't know, I feel like closing thoughts or something. This is something
branded somewhere already.
Branded somewhere else. Like, closing thoughts, no spin zone. My mind, speaking my mind, shooting straight. So I don't know. Just my last thought of the day. I don't know why someone's going to send us a trademark violation. Last thought of the day is from Last Thought of the Day Incorporated. Damn it. The left has been doing what, if I'm going to give you one piece of advice, and this is, they've been taking the easy door for a long time culturally. After Roe V Wade, they haven't been going out there and educating people.
No.
There are times where they could go out there, and if they really wanted to push the boundaries, if they wanted to push the boundaries and they wanted to talk about, they could go through the hard door, but instead they're like, well, let's just rest on these laurels. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. This is why I always have reservations about any kind of messages or advice to anyone that, like right now, is avoiding conflict. A lot of people are like, oh, we don't want this to escalate. Let's avoid conflict. Or I did a message one time where I was talking about being disciplined about rest, because you look at Brian Shaw, he talked about that, George St. Pierre, a lot of high-level people. Yep. But I'm always a little bit unsure-footed when discussing those, because anytime you offer advice where someone can use it as an excuse to go through the easy door, I get uneasy. And this is what I mean by this. We've talked about this. Sometimes the easy door to walk through, right, is the right option, then that's perfectly fine. You don't always have to make things hard on yourself. Training hard, for example, working hard isn't always training hard or smart. I get it. But before you even make your decision, here's what's most important. Always leave that hard door open. That's what's important. And that's why I don't want to say, if I tell people like, hey, listen, avoid conflict at all costs. Generally, that's right. But you really have to explain it because most people are terrified of conflict, even when it's necessary. And so if it gives someone, okay, great, close the hard door of conflict when it comes to protecting what's worthy of being protected. If I say, hey, listen, what's really important is not only how hard you work, but rest, sometimes people go, okay, rest is what's most important. And they close the hard door on hard training. Or it could be work, it could be your family. Good example of this recently, and I'm talking about this with the left, you see it. They've constantly walked, if they have a majority, look at Barack Obama. He couldn't get anything done. Mm-hmm. He couldn't. And they're getting so much done right now, Republicans, because they have been, it's like training with a weighted vest. They know what it's like to march on through that hard door when they've been vilified for years. Good example of this personally. I saw some people recently from my past, my age, who I hadn't seen in a long time. Let me preface this. I'm no prize pig, I get it, okay? But these people had really let themselves go. And have you ever met people like that, like your age, from college, from high school, and you wonder, like, how?
It's one of those things where I look around at my parents' friends growing up, I'm like, how'd that happen? Then now I'm seeing the evolution of my friends. I'm like, oh, that's how it happens.
Right.
I see it now. Like, you were the skinny hot kid, and now, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's I want to be really
from your identity.
And Maury Povich, you are, I don't know what a father of something. Some people get a rough shake, so I want to be clear. I'm talking personally about a big group of people. I remember what they looked like. I remember what they acted like. I remember what they were like. And in that same time period, you know me, I had knee surgery, had thyroid issues, almost had to have it nuked. I've had some issues that I've run into, certainly issues where I've seen people give up and just, oh yeah, you see it a lot. You see it with some women who have children. You've never had a baby. It's like, well, your kid's in college. You're 900 pounds. Like it's not the same thing. I get it. Everyone's a little bit different, but we are talking about generalities here because you have to. And you've heard the term of talk about how it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's really death by 1,000 hard doors closed. It starts with I'm tired. I don't feel like going to the gym today. Boom, you close that door. It starts with, screw the diet for the weekend. It starts with, I'll finish that report for my boss later. Or I'll take the trash out for my wife later. I'll rub my wife's feet later. I'll take my kid to play at the park later. Bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden, 10 years down the line, you're a 32-year-old person. Your 22-year-old self wouldn't even recognize, and you wonder how it happened. At every single point, there was the easy door to walk through and the hard door. And sometimes, again, the easy door is the right door, don't get me wrong, but you'll never even know it if you always close the hard door before you even take a gander. For there to be a right, there has to be a wrong. Okay? There needs to be contrast. So if you're just waltzing through easy door after door, you don't even know what the hard door looks like anymore. And you know what the worst part about that is? And this is why I'm always reserved about giving advice that could even allow someone to think of this as an option. My good friend Shale, son, and not good friend, but friend, he talked to me once about a sports psychologist, and I'd spoken with this person, and I said, it's hyperbolic. People say failure is not an option, and he said, listen, failure is always an option. It's actually the most readily available and easily available option, and that was important for me to know. And if you close the hard door nonstop, you don't even recognize it anymore. The saddest part about it is, and all I'm saying is, make sure it's an option on the table. Not saying you have to go through the hard door every time. But if it's not even an option, the worst thing is you surely have no hope of ever finding out what's behind it. And that's why I'm always careful about giving advice that sounds nice, that sounds virtuous. No conflict. I'm a pacifist. Let's make sure that we all get along. Let's not go after Roe v. Let's pick winning issues. I get it. Sometimes you take the path of least resistance. Sometimes you got to have a plan. But you can't close the hard door and leave the hard options off of the table for your whole life. Because at a certain point, you've just lived a coward's life. See you next week.